Hotshots. This is a cooperative game, so all players will play together in a team and will lose or win together. The game can also be played by a single player, solitaire mode, by maneuvering several characters. In this game, the players represent the firefighters that are trying to stop a group of fires that are threatening to destroy the land, to destroy the play area. This is a game that has similarities mechanically with the Pandemic and other games of this kind. The idea is there's bad stuff that pops up on the board, and there's a deck of cards that determines where and how the bad stuff happens, and the players will use actions to try to stop the invasion, the epidemics in Pandemic, the fires here. So it also has a thematic similarity with Flashpoint, which also was about firefighter, although that was at a smaller scale, and the game plays pretty differently. And also the game has similarities with Zombie Dice. What did Marco drink this morning? Nothing strange, just, milk, and I ate some cereals. But it is a push your luck dice game with a board, or better, it is a board game, but the actions of the players are regulated with a push your luck mechanics, which is similar to that of Dino Hunt dice, Zombie dice, Martian dice, and so many other games of that family. Now, how does the game work? Well, the game takes place in a play area, which you put together by using these tiles here. They have a good standing side, a quote-unquote healthy side, and a scorched side. When there is a number of fire tokens on a tile equal to or higher than the scorch limit, which is the number printed there, then you remove all of the tiles and you flip the tile. Remove all the tokens, you flip the tile to its scorched side. If you have 8 scorched tiles in the play area, you lose the game. Also, you lose the game if this tile here, which is the camp, gets scorched. You have a flag there at the beginning, which indicates the direction of the wind, which will most likely change during the game. And you can set up the area in a variety of ways. This is just one way. You can create a different configuration. You can make the game easier or harder by placing certain tiles at certain locations. And many tiles also have special abilities and things. There are a lot of icons that you need to familiarize yourself, maybe more than you would expect from a game that I believe was meant to be a pretty simple entryway level family game, but it's possible. It's possible. Each tile also has a number of symbols here that you are required to match in order to be able to perform actions in that tile. We have different characters in the game, and each character comes with a standee that tells you where the character is, and then a card that tells you the special ability of that character. The abilities are printed here in the top section of each card. In the bottom section, you have a player aid, which is the same for all players and tells you what happens in a turn and also how you can use your results. Flames will be placed on the board at the beginning of the game based on the setup instructions, special tiles. There are certain tiles that will automatically receive fire tokens at the beginning of the game. And then what else do we have? We have these little canals that you dig during the game, and you put them on the edge between tiles, between hexes, to prevent the fire from moving from X to X, or at least to slow it down, because there are certain game effects that will be stopped by the canal. The fire won't be able to cross it, but then there are the game effects that will allow the fire to spread past your line of defense. Then we have reward tokens that are acquired by the players in certain circumstances. Each reward token gives you a specific advantage, and as you can imagine, you just need to look at the back of the rulebook where you will be told what these symbols correspond to. That is what each reward lets you do. A turn, in essence, is very simple. When a player takes a turn, the player moves their character up to 2 hexes, and you have to stop when you enter an area with flames. You can exit it, you can enter it, you cannot move through it. So you move up to 2, and then you will probably attempt to take actions in that tile. Otherwise, why the heck did you go there in the first place? So when you're taking an action, you pick up all of the dice, unless it is possible, because of some game effects, some dice may have been removed from the game. But you pick up all the dice that are available, you roll them, and you're trying to match them with the icons printed at the bottom there. For example, here I have 2 pickaxes, which is good. I have a shovel, which is good. Chainsaw and these other rakes here I don't need right now. So you will match as many symbols as you can. Then with the dice that are left, well, you can just ignore them. That is, you can stop rolling and use the symbols that you have there, or you can re-roll the dice that you still have and that you haven't matched. And you keep re-rolling for as long as each time that you roll, you can match at least a new symbol. For example, now I was able to do so. I matched the symbols, so now these 2 dice are unused, but I could choose to re-roll them. And you continue like this pretty much until you choose to stop, in which case use the dice that you match, or you re-roll dice, and after re-rolling and after using all of the game effects that you have, you are unable to match any die. If you're unable to match any die after a reroll, then you're not able to do anything, and worse than that, also there is you will have to add extra fire to the board. So that is not good. And that is the push your luck. I can choose to stop with the icons that I have. Of course, the more icons I match, the better the action. But I can choose to stop at any point and use that action, or try to go for a better action at risk of not being able to do anything and see the situation blow up in my face. There are several grace effects that will allow you not to waste your turn, even if you're unable to match symbols. For example, if they're friends with you, because everybody needs a friend, or everybody benefits from a friend. For example, having another player there allows you to ignore one of these rolls that doesn't give you anything. Other tokens, other abilities will allow you to do similar things. Now, once you do match the symbols, how do they work? Well, they work like this, and the player rate is very good at this. If you match 3 symbols, you can dig a fire break in one of the edges of the hex tile in which you are. If you match the 4 symbols, then you remove 1 flame. If you match 5 symbols, you remove 2 flames, and you get a reward token. Or you place a fire break. If you match all 6 symbols, then you remove 3 flames and you get a reward token, and you add a fire break. And this is really the general idea. That's how it works. And then again, you have to learn about the icons to be able to play effectively, to figure out how and when to use your reward tokens. These 3 tokens that you see there, those are vehicles, and they allow you to perform special actions. Each can be used once per game, and they're pretty cool. Like the airplane, for example, they're just pouring water on 3 tiles in a straight line, but actually you cannot pour water on the electric lines. So for example, something like this. The helicopter drops all the water in a single place, so you remove multiple flames in a single place. The little van there digs, fire breaks. So these are nice effects, but they can be used, alas, only once. Once you've taken your turn, which again, move up to two tiles, so roll dice, match the icon, perform the action that the icons allow you to perform. Once you're done with that, you draw a fire card, and the fire cards will determine if the wind changes and or also how the fire spreads. There may be light breeze, in which case the fire will not spread past fire breaks. It may be intense, so actually it does move past, and it always moves in the direction of the wind. So for example, now if I got a card that tells me to add the fire in that direction, I would add a fire here, fire here, and so on and so forth. In some cases, you have effects that tell you not just to add the two tiles that do not have fire yet, but to add also to tiles that have fire, sort of like consolidating, and that is pretty bad. So there are some effects only add to tiles that don't have them. In other cases, everywhere that applies. Situations like that, sometimes you have a new fire starting somewhere. It just depends. And again, is Iconapalooza, Icon Extravaganza. I'll let you have the fun. Keep the player aid next to you while you're learning what the icons do. This is the game, really. Continue playing like this, move up to 2, roll dice, do stuff, add fire, until either you have stopped all the fire in the game, or until 8 tiles scorched, or this one got scorched. So Hotshots, very simple idea with a little bit of extra layers there. And recently I reviewed the game Robinson Crusoe, which I like very much, and I said there that the core idea is very simple, but then there are a lot of extra icons, rules that you have to learn to be able to play the game that add more complexity. Here's the same idea, and you have definitely fewer extra rules and unique effects that you have in Robinson Crusoe, but alas, you also have gameplay which is extremely linear. It's not very meaty, it's not very deep gameplay. And to me, this is probably one of the things that prevents me from enjoying the game too much. I find the game to be okay, but I did not fall in love with it. Because the core mechanic, yes, is simple, but also doesn't really give me a lot of strategy, doesn't give me a lot of subtleties. And then the strategy being basically push your luck, like having zombie dice. Then all of those other effects, all of those other icons that I have to learn and become familiar with, they don't really add much to the experience of playing the game. They seem to me to make it more complicated without really making it more rewarding. Robinson Crusoe, once I learned all the extra procedures, then I really get the sense of a strong story. Here, I get the sense that there could be a strong story, but ultimately it is about I'm getting luck, I'm getting more luck, less luck, more lucky, less lucky. And to me, this is again one of the elements of the game. Not just the core idea, push your luck, to me is not strong enough, is not subtle enough, is not deep enough to make it worth, again, to learn about all the icons, but not just that, but also to play a game that takes it may take about an hour to play, a little less, a little more, depends on players, etc., etc. But it's a medium-length game. Zombie dice lasts 5 minutes, Martian dice lasts 5 minutes, and that's really what I like about games that are just about pushing your luck. Here you find yourself doing the same thing over and over again, being at the mercy of the luck, of course. And again, if I play a game that lasts 5 minutes and I lose it, then I play it again and lose it only because of luck, who cares? If I'm playing a game for half an hour, 45 minutes, and I lose it because of luck, I don't know, I feel like my investment of time wasn't put really to good use. There's also the fact the general architecture to me, victory conditions could be tweaked to make the experience a little more intense and climatic. That is, the architecture of the game in terms of pace and overall experience doesn't work all that well for me, because the second part of the game may feel pretty flat. Say, Pandemic, Pandemic. You get closer and closer to victory, and yes, there are times where you're super lucky, but those are rare, in which you eradicated a lot of diseases in Pandemic, and then the last part of the game, it's just a walkthrough, just a breeze, pure cake, easy peasy. But in many cases, the world is falling apart as you keep getting closer to victory. Things get worse and worse and worse, and you manage to win just there at the brink of absolute apocalypse, and that is a climatic moment. People are gonna cheer, high-fiving each other, etc., etc. Victory very often comes as the most climatic moment in the game, because victory is achieved at the moment in which tension is at its maximum. Here, victory comes at the moment where tension is at its minimum, because you have to eradicate all the fire from the board. That means that there will be a time where pretty much the game gets past a critical point, and you, well, You have lost some tiles. Yes, some tiles will scorch. And part of the strategy, and that I like, is to choose what to lose, is to pretty much prioritize not just your goals, but your losses. What can I give up? If I let a certain area scorch, then that will protect actually other areas because, well, because that's how it works. So the fire doesn't move through scorched tiles. And that I like. But there will be a moment in which part of the play area is sealed, and at that point players can concentrate their activities on a certain area, and the fire gets smaller and smaller. And so that part of the game, it's a foregone conclusion. You know that you're going to win, and therefore winning feels a little bit anticlimactic. I wonder if there were different victory conditions, such as you win if prevent a certain number of scorches and reduce the fire up to a certain number of fire tokens, a certain number of tiles that are on fire, not just until the very end. It just feels to me that the victory condition is not just that it makes the game last a little longer than it should, which is also the case, I believe, but it makes the final part of the game a little less interesting. So I like push or luck dice game a lot. I like cooperative games in which you go around the board and you prevent a mess from getting worse and worse, worse and worse. That is totally a word. I said worse, and I'm gonna own that. Situation gets worser and worse, and after that gets worsest. I like those games. I don't know that the push or luck, a roll and re-roll, with all the huge amount of luck that it has, with the little strategic depth that it has, I don't know that that is the engine around which I want to see a prevent the apocalypse type of game. To me, these two elements just don't go all that well together. It is not a terrible game. Again, it's just that I love so many other games with the push of luck. I love so many pandemic type games. This one feels a little bland. Feels like a couple of years ago would have been like, whoa, amazing. But today we have so many iterations of pandemic which are just so great. And you know, in pandemic you have a turn structure with so many decisions, different orders in which you can do things, etc., etc. This one doesn't feel much lighter than pandemic in terms of number of rules, but is a lot less interesting to play because of the architecture and because of the limited amount of decisions that you have to make. So this is an assessment of the Hotshots. It's not terrible. If you like the theme, it could be it's a decent family game, but there are just so many better options out there for games of this type, at this level of complexity, with this type of idea, prevent a disaster on the board, etc., etc. There are just so many better options out there that I don't see recommending Hotshots for, well, over other games. Play Zombie Dice for a push or luck games. Go for Pandemic for a game in which you don't want to see things getting worse and worse. Hotshots, I don't know, not my favorite game in any of these categories really.